All right, we're picking it up part 2 of Price Labs 101, how to get a listing started. If you're just fresh, just brand new, and you're excited about getting started with Price Labs, go to fearlesskyle.com/Price Labs, get your free 30-day trial and an onboarding training. But Richie, we just kind of left off on part 1 about this neighborhood data. I would love to kind of take a look a little bit more at this, what we can learn from it and how we can now apply that to some customizations. And this, to me, this part, the customizations, is where people really make things complicated and think they've got to use all of them. And that's what I really want to impress on everyone who's watching right now is Richie's going to show you right now exactly which ones are the most important and which ones you can throw to the wayside and let it just do its thing on its own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in from the first video to this one. Hopefully, Kyle and I are doing a decent job here. So what we're going to touch on now is, if you recall from the last video, we'd looked at this neighborhood graph. We'd looked at 60 days. We'd looked at a year out. I've zoomed it again at a year out. And if you look at this curve, you'd see it's generally an upward trending. So like here in August, September, you're making about 90 or 100 in recommendations versus here, you see that recommendations really start to pop up and go a lot higher. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily to say we expect, that's not necessarily to say we expect those dates to be very high, but because of the lack of understanding of those days today, because is it going to be a recession? Is recession not going to exist? Are people going to have money? Is there going to be COVID? We don't really know, right? Are people going to travel a lot, right? So you don't want to be one of the first ones to book 12 months out, unless it's a loyalty customer where you already know the customer and you're going to give them some discount or whatever, right? So we don't want to be one of the first ones to book. So as our algorithm, we increase prices far out, right? And it steadily increases, right? But some people may not be comfortable because this changes your booking window. If you're used to getting those 1 year out bookings, if you're used to getting those 6 month, 9 month out bookings, you may want to reduce or dampen our far out factor, right? And secondly, we're also going to touch on these prices may not be aggressive for you, right? Now, remember, we're designing the system for everyone. It's very much like a stock market, right? Some people like to have their money in debt. Some people like to have their money in like good mutual funds or equities. And some people like to have them in like real small cap, right? That's going to give you very, very crazy returns. But you also understand the risk that it can go down to zero, right? So very similarly, when we're designing the system, we're designing it at a normal recommended level, but you can be very aggressive with prices, in which case your high demand days will be priced very high, your low demand days will be priced relatively lower, or you could be conservative where you say, hey, I am not used to this much fluctuation. I am a new host, or I've not done this for a while. I just want to start with some bit of adjustment, but not crazy adjustments right now. So we're going to touch on those two factors. And then finally, we're going to touch on minimum stay and time sink. So let's start with the far out factor. You're seeing these prices that are increasing. We're going to pop into this customizations model. And like Kyle said, customizations can be extremely confusing. This, again, if you listen to my first part of this video, it's like sitting in an airplane's cockpit and you're seeing all of these buttons that you can touch. You don't necessarily have to, right? If you're a new host, just do the basics that we're going to touch on this webinar. And unless you have a real reason, then do it. Otherwise, like, wait for a month, 2 months, 3 months for your properties to react and see how they're doing. And then let's make other changes. So we're constantly revamping the look and feel of how everything works. So you may not find everything at the same place as we go through this webinar the next time when you look at this video. But remember the things that we're going to touch on, right? So we're going to pop into this advanced customization tab. And we're going to go in here and we're going to first look at this far out factor or far out premium, right? So remember, like I said, there's an upward sloping curve. We are automatically adding far out premium to every listing, but you may not want to because you're used to that 12-month out bookings or 6-month out bookings, right? You want to turn this on. And then you can select a no far out premium, which means it will tell price apps to say, hey, don't use far out premiums on my property. just price as assuming that the next year is kind of similar to this year.
I
Right.
like that.
So we're not going to add, this particularly changes, Kyle. A lot of people who are, for example, you've been running a VR property in certain markets and you're used to that 12-month out booking, right?
Yeah.
When we increase prices, we're going to change your booking curve, right? Your booking curve, it's actually going to increase your revenues. But if you're
Yeah.
not used to it, you can turn this off.
Well, and is that a new feature? I don't think I've seen far out premium on there before.
It is a fairly new feature,
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one thing I just want to stress to people, because this is what we teach. If you are getting further out bookings, then in my mind, you should be getting a premium. There's two types of people that are looking to book far out. It's either the person that wants the discount, they want that early bird discount, or they want just the best place out there. So if you're the best place out there, you need to, in my opinion, you need to have the far out premium. If you're not, and you just want to get your thing booked up, just be wary of getting discounted rates that you could have gotten bigger bookings, right? Like, so one of the things I teach, Richie, if you can picture in this vase, if we were to put a bunch of larger pebbles or rocks in here, those are those big bookings, right? Those are the ones that are going to take up most of the income that we need. And then we have all those gaps, because you can see, if I had that up to my face, you could see through it. You could still see me. We want to fill those up with the sand. And that would be those discounted bookings. That would be those last minute bookings. That would be the 1 or the 2 nights instead of the 7-night bookings. And so my point here is, if you are going to do the far out premium off, still think of the vase with rocks in the sand and get the bigger rocks. So make your minimum stay, instead of 2 nights, make it 6 nights, and still get those bigger bookings. And if it's at a discounted rate, at least you get some bigger bookings out of it.
Brilliant. Completely agree. And we align with you, Kyle, that far out, you should get higher prices.
Yeah.
But some people, because some people are starting out, they might be conservative. You may want to turn it off and then see, like if you want to, if you are used to getting those 12 months out or 9 months out bookings and you're not seeing it with price labs, it's because we're trying to get you the best price and not necessarily always get a booking 9 months out.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Cool. Okay. So far out premium, what else should we focus on customizations?
Brilliant. The next thing that we're going to do is this demand aggressiveness factor, right? By the way, I want to highlight this. Anywhere you see this learn more, if you click, our team does spend a lot of time writing up articles about how Price Labs works. So you can click at anywhere you see this learn more, there'd be a blog that would pop up and it'll talk about why and how to use this feature.
Perfect.
Right?
Hey, Richie,
so demand aggressiveness,
just really quick here. Sorry, because I want to give people a visual. We just talked about doing a longer stay for a certain amount of nights out. Can you just show that really quick on stay restrictions so people can understand?
Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to come back to demand factor later. Let's do the stay restrictions. Stay restrictions, again, Kyle and I have done a extended 10-15 minutes webinar on this one, right? But what we're going to do is, what Kyle was saying was, today, on a regular, say next 90 days, you're okay with taking those 2 nights, 3-night bookings, right? But if you're outside that 90-day window, you don't want to take those really small bookings. I love Kyle's example of using those really big rocks, taking these really big chunky bookings, and then as you get close in, you take those small bookings. So for example, in Kyle's strategy would be, let's say I'm going to have a 2-day weekday, 3-day weekend. This is my normal stuff, right? But I'm going to pop up here for far out. And for far out, I'm going to say, I'm going to maybe have a 5-night booking and like a 5-night weekday weekend outside of 90 days. And I can add a next layer here where I can say, hey, I'm actually going to take 7 nights and 7 nights. Sorry, this is 7 nights outside of, say, 150 days, right? So that's kind of how you have set this up. I can also go into minimum last minute stays and I can say, hey, within the last 5 nights, I'm okay with taking 1-night booking if you were comfortable. And then this orphan gap, don't want to touch on it. Do watch the other webinar. We spent quite a bit of time on it. But this, because we're here, I want to say minimum stay restrictions is as important as pricing. Please do focus on this. And so spend that 10 minutes watching that webinar. When we did that run, we didn't have this, Kyle, if I'm not wrong, see setting suggestions available. So what we have now done is just like how we do pricing, we've now started recommending what should your minimum stays be to maximize bookings in your area,
That's
right?
perfect.
Now, if I click that, I have two different kinds. Do I want to take short-term bookings, or am I in one of those markets where I can only take mid-term bookings, right? What does that mean? Short-term bookings generally less than 14-day bookings, or mid-term bookings longer than 14-day bookings, right?
Cool.
So I'm going to be a short-term host. I'm going to click go. So for this Miami market, what this is going to tell me is, hey, default to 3-day, 3-day. For orphan gaps, you're going to do this. For last minute, it's telling me within 2 nights, take 1 night booking, and
Cool.
within 6 nights, focus on 2-day weekdays and 1-day weekend. It's very strange for you to see weekday versus weekend being different, but that's what data is telling us, right? And then far out, again, do this, right? And so the
That's
whole
really
intent
awesome.
being, we've made this obvious so that you can just click apply,
Yep.
and all of that will get updated based on what this thing said. And then you could make a tweak here or there, right? You could say, hey, instead of this 30 nights, I actually want to be 60 nights. And you could be like, hey, I know price apps, you want me to take 1 night weekends, but I really don't like that because of the type of host guests it attracts in my market.
Right.
I've made these few tweaks, and I click save change, and I'm good to go. So it's quick,
That's
right?
perfect. That's awesome, Richie. Thanks for showing that. Let's check out those aggressive demand factors now.
We're going to pop into this advanced customization tab again. Now, if you remember my, again, example from stock market, and you're going to see it on this blog. I'm actually going to click it open while it loads. What you can do is you can turn this on, and you're going to see three settings: recommended, conservative, aggressive. Recommended is what Price Labs recommends for your market, right? But you could go conservative, which is to saying, I'm not going to see as much fluctuation in my market. It's going to be a tight band that I'm going to operate in, right? And aggressive is going to be kind of like my small cap investing, right? I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to drive my prices higher, but I fully understand the risk of like there are certain days when I may not get booked, so I may need to come in and either manually adjust that price or whatever, right?
Okay.
So that's that. And if you wanted to look at it in terms of a graphic, essentially this is what's happening. On a price, say Price Labs would have recommended this price. On an aggressive day, it would drive the prices to be higher if you were aggressive, right? And if you were conservative, it would drive the prices to be a little lower. But
So
it would also
I
do the
kind of
same on a
explain
low demand day.
this. I kind of explain this as like the Six Flags roller coaster versus the kiddie roller coaster, right?
Fair enough.
If we don't want to get motion sickness, then we go conservative. But if we want the thrill and the ride, then we go aggressive.
There you go. There you go. Cool. And then the final thing that I want to touch on all of this is okay. So I've set up my prices, everything. I'm mostly good to go. I've decided if I want far out factor. I've decided if I want aggressiveness. I've decided if I want my minimum stays and how to set this up. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to pop into settings page. I already have it open here, and I'm going to hop into sync settings. Inside sync settings, I can choose Price Labs automatically every 24 hours updates your rates, right? But you could also come in and say, hey, for my market, my time zone, say, I wonder what is it called. Huh.
Maybe try
Americas. Americas. It says Americas. Yeah, so maybe I am Denver, or maybe I'm Chicago, or whatever time zone, and I want this to sync at 8 a.m. every morning.
Okay.
Right? Every morning at 8 a.m. we're going to sync prices, right? Now, this is not something that's recommended generally if you're a single listing host, but if you had a bunch of properties, like if you had a hotel style property, you may not want to wait 24 hours. You may want to update prices more frequently, in which case you can also select additional times. Cool. That's the basics. Once we are through with this, all that we need to do is turn on this toggle sync prices, and you're good to go.
That's awesome.
It was like a 30-minute, maybe 30-minute, maybe we went 25, 30 minutes. But that's all you need to know to set up your prices. This would be generally good, right? Unless you're either a experienced revenue manager, or if you know something specific about your property or market, in which case I would recommend looking into our other customizations, right? But if you're a starter, trust the system, let it work for you, right? And then a month in, 2 months in, then we can go in and start understanding more in depth.
Yeah. I mean, we can really just break this down into the steps of set your minimum, maximum, and base price. Check the neighborhood data to make sure that you're competitive with the bracket that you want to be with. Set a couple customizations and then just make sure that it's syncing at the right time based on what you need. You don't need to go in and set all these customizations. You don't have to have all these different rules that are applying. Just let it do its thing. And what I've found, Richie, is that if you're monitoring this and you're seeing and you're trying, maybe even tracking trends that people are, hey, they're booking every single weekend. I'm having no trouble getting booked on the weekends, but every single Monday I'm vacant. Then maybe go into a customization, increase your weekend pricing, decrease your Monday pricing manually through that customization and see if that helps. Those are the tweaks that we make, right? We just want to, just like you said, you get into autopilot and then you learn a little bit about those things. And that's how you're going to get set up the easiest way. So guys, go get started on Price Labs, fearlesskyle.com/Price Labs to get your free 30-day trial. And again, your onboarding training. And again, every single month we're going on here with Richie Kandawal, the CEO of Price Labs, to give you great tips about how to be able to make the adjustments for your listings. Richie, thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much, Kyle.